guys, what's going on? My name's Tiffany. I'm a school psychology intern, and today I thought we would do something a little bit different. I want to rate all my grad school books from 1 to 10. I don't know, I just thought it'd be kind of fun, and I have a ton of books that I've gone through during my 5 semesters, and I just want to show you guys what kind of books I have and what I thought of them. You know, some were really great resources that I'll probably keep for a few years or forever, and other ones were trash. Okay, so book number 1 that we're rating, this was from a class called Schools as a System Practicum, basically our shadowing practicum class from our first semester. It's called Leading in a Culture of Change. This was a super easy read, but gave really good tips on how to be a good leader, and especially in like a changing climate, and how to promote change and how to impact schools. And it doesn't even just have to do with schools, it's just in general in life. I thought it was really good, especially for a first semester. We were learning so much and soaking in all this information, but this one, I don't know, it felt nice, like not having to like learn strictly school psychology stuff, and I don't know, it was kind of inspiring. So I would give it an 8 out of 10. Next book, this one is called School Psychology for the 21st Century. And I know I've talked about this before, but this one was for my role and function of the school psychologist class, where we learn about the roles and functions of a school psychologist. So we learned about like ethics and law, and then also just like what it means to be a school psychologist. What do they do nowadays, and what is their function in a school? And so I actually really enjoyed this textbook, and I'm probably going to keep it for, you know, the next few years. But it goes over all the basic information you need for school psychology. It doesn't go into like the nitty-gritty details, but for a beginner, it's great. And it goes over like the basic ethics, basic laws. I would give this a 9 out of 10. If you're a new school psychology student, I would give it a read. Okay, this was also part of the role and function class. It's ethics and law. Terribly boring, lots of just technical specific law and stuff, but it's also really important for you to learn as a student. But I'm sure you will also, you know, learn more about it during internship and while you're working, because you're really like in the real life situations applying these ethics and laws. But it's important, just really boring and so much text. I would give this a 6 out of 10. I guess I'm going by semesters. Still in my first semester, we had to take ABA, but I actually took a few ABA classes because I was going for my BC ABA before, and I was waived from the class. I had a credit from like a school in Florida that I took online, and so they actually use the same textbook. It's really boring, really technical. I'm sure it has great information. I would give this a 4 out of 10. A big ABA book. We also had a cognitive assessment class our first semester, and so we had to read this book, Assessing Intelligence in Children and Adolescents. And I think it was actually pretty lecture heavy. We learned a lot about like cognitive assessment history, school psychology history, and then also how to give cognitive assessments our first semester. So after that, we had our practicum class our second semester, but this just gave like a good overview of different cognitive assessments, a little bit of history. It was all right. It's pretty like thin, easy read. It doesn't really go that into depth. I would give it like a 6 out of 10 for just being there. It's like a decent resource for beginners. Okay, the next book that we are rating is The Handbook of Evidence-Based Interventions for Children and Adolescents. From the get-go, I mean, like, it looks great. It looks like a great resource that I'll be using in my practicing days. Like, it's super thick. It actually goes through so many different interventions and areas that we would have to tackle. But then once you start reading it, it actually doesn't give you good tangible tips or interventions. It just talks about like the problem area, and I was really disappointed in this book. We had high hopes, but it sucks. I would give this a 3 out of 10. And also we had this intervention book. I actually like this one a lot better. It is well, it does list out all the different areas, and I think they give a lot more information on what kind of interventions, consultation styles, all of that. So this one is a 7 out of 10. For our social emotional behavioral assessment class, this class was so stressful for me. We had to learn how to like give different social emotional assessments, and also like how to interpret scores. it's hard, especially for internalizing problems. How do you know if a kid is depressed or anxious or if it's just normal life stuff, you know? So we had to read this book, Foundations of Behavioral, Social, and Clinical Assessments of Children, and it's actually not bad. I thought I learned a lot from this book. It's pretty technical. It's there's a lot of information, but it wasn't a terrible read, and I thought I learned a lot from this. And it also comes with this accompanying book that helps you conduct clinical assessments. I would give these books 8 out of 10. Not a 10 because I still find it kind of boring. And then we also had to get this one, Clinical Interviews for Children and Adolescents. Kind of similar to the other orange book where it helps you build your clinical interview by giving you like questions and stuff. I don't think it's as comprehensive, but it's easier to digest because it's like more organized, simple. So I would give this a 7 out of 10. For so I also had a book for child psychopathology. I gave it to my cousin so she can borrow it and look over it because she wants to study psych. And that book was okay. It went through all the different disorders. I guess it gave good background, like background information and overview, but I didn't feel like I grasped like the essence and like everything I needed to know about the disorder. Like it was just like a good overview. I would give that book a 7 out of 10. I'll put a picture right here. This is what it looked like. So for my practicum classes, I didn't have that many books. I was either doing a lot of like hands-on training or like we had 1 or 2 books for discussion and we read a ton of articles. So for Charles's class, we had advanced assessment practicum with him, and was it practicum? We had advanced child assessment with Charles. He suggested that we should get this book. It's the Essentials Cross Battery Assessment book, and I know a lot of the essential books are really popular in the field. They give you a great overview and all the resources for specific areas, and this one's just for cross battery. And I think that's an area that we really didn't like talk much about during training, and I think that's also because they want you to have an open mind about how to test for learning disabilities. And I know depending on the state or the district, it really depends. But this gives you a great overview. I love this chart in the back. Not chart, but like it lists all the tests. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's in the appendix. So they list the cognitive area, like the ability, like processing speed, visual processing, and they'll list out the more specific narrow band of mental ability, and then list all the tests that you can use to test for that. And this one's a little bit outdated, like it doesn't have all the most updated tests. And the problem with that is with updated tests, there's different subtests, and also like depending on the subtest, it might measure something different. And so that's still super useful, and it just gives like really, really good in-depth information about cross battery. So the rating for that one, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I'll definitely use it, especially during internship. For our reading class, we had a ton of articles to read, and we also had this one, The Early Intervention for Reading Difficulties. I do like this book. I wasn't super knowledgeable about reading, like how to teach reading disabilities, and so this one gave a really good outline and information about not just about interventions, but they kind of gave you the foundation reading knowledge that you need to understand reading disabilities. And for that, like you have to know how children learn to read and what it means when people say a phoneme or phonological processing. What is a morpheme, syntax, all of that. So as thick as it is, it's pretty like well put together, kind of simple, and I like how the cover looks. So this one gets a 9 out of 10. And then for our counseling class that we took this summer, we had these books. Which one? Okay, this one is from the summer, our first counseling class. It goes over the theories. This was okay. I mean, like it was nice that like they really went into depth about like each of the theories, and this is something that you do get tested on, like on the praxis, and it's just good to know. yeah, that's about it. I'll give this a 7 out of 10. So I think this was from our most recent counseling class. It was this past semester. Half of our class became online, but this one was okay. Went over like general counseling skills, and I think that's something that we really needed to learn and practice more because we only had one counseling class, and although we're not counselors, as school psychologists, we do a lot of counseling. And so it goes over like how to build that like initial rapport, how to funnel and go about your counseling session. And so this was helpful. It's very succinct. I will definitely be using this as a resource throughout internship. I would give this an 8 out of 10. Whew. Oh, okay, I have one more left. Hang in there. White fragility. Oh my gosh, have you guys read this one? This one was for my multiculturalism class. We do a lot of like discussions, and a lot of our classes are discussion based. And so white fragility, we had to read it and have discussion. And we also did like a weekly like reflection paper, which I like really appreciated, because if there was something that we wanted to like reflect upon, but we weren't comfortable saying it in class, and like at least our professor knew, or she could read our reflection papers and then bring it up as a discussion topic in class. So I thought that was really nice. For this book in particular, like I've seen this lady speak, like we've seen some of her videos, and I think she's doing great work. And I think this book is great for white people. But as someone who is a person of color, like I'm East Asian, I did not really find this book helpful, or it was not insightful for me. You know, a lot of it talked about like white guilt and why do we feel this way when we talk about race as a white person. And I couldn't apply any of these concepts. I guess that's why like discussion is so important, but it makes it harder when the base of the discussion is about a book written by a white person for white people. And I think when others read it, they might feel like validated, or they might enjoy this. I know this book has so many great reviews, and it's also gotten so much more publicity after Black Lives Matter, and after all these resources have been, you know, pouring out like through social media, and it's great. But for me, like personally, I didn't like it, and I just thought it was like a waste of my time. And I don't know if I'm going to get bashed for this. It's just my personal opinion. Like, you can go ahead and read it and let me know what you think. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to make this too political. Like, of course it's political, but this is me rating specific books, and like for me personally, didn't do much for me. So I rated a 4 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to see similar content, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!